YouTube, we have another story to tell. This story will not be a top priority. We're working on a John Deere 1961 model propane row crop tractor that I've had split for some time, and I'm not doing a series on the motor by any means, but I am working on getting some parts today. We were getting the Thanksgiving week end, if you will, Wednesday afternoon, and I've started. This is actually a gasoline model 165. I've put some posts out on the Facebook pages to see if this will go in place of a 145. I don't know. I'm not saying I'm an expert on this, but I am working on getting a 145 ready to go and run. We're going to tear this down anyway because it should only take a few hours probably, and then get back on the Massey. We'll bring you along as we dismantle it. Don't know really what direction we're going to head. Obviously we have a 145 gasoline motor in the tractor, or out of the tractor now, but we have a bad crank. Crank is cracked. We had it Magnaflux, had a couple cracks in it. This crank is literally one digit off from the 145. I do believe, I haven't checked books yet, that the displacement on this is the same as the diesel 2010 motor, which everyone knows is kind of a dog. And a lot of people don't like the 2010s. I think they kind of get a bad rap when it comes to the gasoline or LP motors. The diesels, I do know, are not that great. And I'm not saying the 2010 was the greatest tractor John Deere ever made, but I kind of enjoy it because it's a little odd and different. Everybody has a 4020 and a 3020, which were great tractors, don't get me wrong. But this is what we're doing. I am going to try now to get a little heat out and see if we can get this manifold. This manifold is pretty cool. It has John Deere casted into it. We wouldn't be able to use it on the tractor. I was told this came off of a 45 combine. I don't know that for sure, because I just got it like you see it right here on a pallet with a strap on it. I know it came off of a combine, but I don't know what number. So I'm going to bring you along today and just kind of enjoy taking this stuff apart and seeing how it all worked years ago. And it's pretty interesting. I had some success. I've done two. I heated this up out here because it was going to be seized to the bolt. Heated it up right there, let it cool down, and put an impact on it, which kind of a big no-no, but I used very little pressure. Just hit it, make it do a couple little jerks, and I got it. This one has been rounded off. I don't know if we'll be able to get the impact on there, but we'll see what we can do. Now we're going to try this one. We got the socket on there. Looks like we're having a little bit of success. So we got that one out. Okay, we are now have some helpers back on the combine, and I have gotten this bolt here out with heat. This one I didn't have to heat. Got three more across here, so we're working on those, and I'm going to heat those up now. Not going to tape that, it's just heating it up and then letting it cool. It's very time consuming if you don't want to twist them off in the head, and I still may fail, but I usually take my time and be very patient, and I've been very successful at this. Okay, I got them all heated up. This one is pretty thin on the back side. There was a lot of dirt laying on it. That one may twist off. I've gotten this one to move. I haven't done anything with this one yet. One thing I do want to tell you, sometimes you have to use different size sockets because the rust has changed the diameter of the head, and I've even had to use metric. Worst case scenario, you have to clean it up, get the welder out, weld another nut on it so you can have something fresh to turn on. You can see these half-inch socket does not fit. 9/16 probably going to be too big. Oh, looks like we got lucky there. That's a blessing. And it's stuck in there. This one here, I am not expecting much success. It's very thin, very small diameter on the backside from corrosion. And the head has turned off. Half-inch won't fit. We'll have to look at metric. See if we can get a metric to go on there. We did get a 10mm to go on there. However, I usually use a 6-point. This is a 12-point. Not expecting much success with this either. Might be having success. Wow, that's not promising. Well, as we further investigate, she looks tough. Got a lot of on the intakes, or the exhausts, I guess that would be. A lot of dirt in there, rust. So water must have been going down the muffler. This is what I was talking about. I am very amazed that this came out right there. A lot of dirt was setting on it. Look at the diameter of that. I'd say it's less than 1/4 of an inch. Maybe you can't focus on it. That's bad, but we got it. So what we're gonna do, try to get the top off, see what's under here, get rid of this, and see if we can get the head off and see what the deck plate and the pistons look like. One other note, we did get the manifold off. It's not cracked, but this is pretty thin right here, and even got a little bit of a pitting in it. It'd be really hard to get that to reseal. Might have a wall hanger here. It says John Deere. One other note, I did have to go to a metric. 12-point, got that on there, and it held long enough to get that bolt out. 9/16 and 1/2-inch 6-points, what I like to use, but a lot of times the rust has interfered with the exact size. We're going to take the water manifold off now. I don't have an engine stand to put this on, so I've got the strap loose. We just got to be careful that it don't fall and get us. Okay, that's off. We are getting ready to remove the valve cover for the reveal. I have not looked under here myself. Let's see if it looks good or bad. Feels pretty solid. Looks like it's almost been put down with a sealant. honestly was expecting to see a lot worse in there. Okay, I have taken this rocker arm assembly loose right here. And the intake valves are stiff. Just tapped on them a little bit. They didn't come back up. So, not going to be surprised when we find something not very good under the head. Okay, I have the head bolts broke loose. So we're going to take those out, and then we're going to take that strap off and let it down and try to remove the head. That's not good. She's on there. We will have to see what we can do about getting it to release without damaging it. Lowered the forklift down some more. Let me see what we can do here. Oh, okay. That came loose pretty good. Oh yeah. We got surprises in there. So we probably have another pitted deck liner. Well, we are wiped out with some paper towels. I'm going to get a shadow in there. Sorry about that. As my brother would say, we have delicious goodness in there. Yeah, not going to be much good here, but it's what you get when you're looking at old engines. And so we'll keep tearing it down just to see what the bottom end looks like. Let me take you over here to the head. You can see, might have a usable head. I don't know. A guy'd have to take it in and have it disassembled and magnafluxed to see if it's got any cracks. So I just kind of enjoy tearing these things down, seeing what happened to them. They might have a story to tell. This one probably just sat outside on an old combine that wasn't used anymore, and that is the extent of it. Water got in and ruined it. We'll know more when we get to the bottom end. Taking the water pump off now. I have the bolts out. Maybe I have the bolts out. Let me take a look. Maybe I've missed one. Must be something I'm missing. Although I don't see what it would be. This is free. I don't think we're going to hurt anything. Although I don't think it's coming. Ah, this metal plate here is probably connected on with this plate down here, so I had to probably take them off all the way along here. We'll have to see. Getting you in close here on the tripod. I did have a bolt way down underneath that was stuck there. So now we should, on a stud is what it is. You still might be cracking it. Everybody knows that sometimes one bolt can cost you 30 minutes. Trying to get that lock washer off. Finally, there's a stud down there. I had got the nut off. Had to heat it up, the cast iron, because it was just packed with rust. So, water pump is removed from the 165 John Deere combine engine. And now what we'll do is we will remove the governor right quick. That should be fairly simple, although the last thing was not simple. This should have some value to us in the 2010 tractor. Trying to get one running, and let's see, hopefully this comes off a little easier. Just got to be real careful though not to break the castings here. Oh, wait a minute, third bolt. My fault. Getting a little tired out here today, and we're not going to be able to get a impact on that. So let me stop and work on that a little bit. Okay, I have the bolt loose. I will work on getting it out with the wrench because we can't get the impact in, so that'll take more time. This should be some flyweights behind there, as everyone knows that's done this. And the bolt is out. Now let's gently tap it. You don't want to get carried away here. These things actually break pretty prominent to be broke. Oh, a bolt here. Let's see. Yep, it's binding up because we're behind that big old combine. There. There's some dowels in here, if I remember right. That is on, I think. You can see the dowel hole right there. So it's just a matter, without breaking it, getting it off of the dowels. I really don't know what we're going to do with all of this stuff. It might be scrap. Okay, that bolt fighting us. Oh, we dropped an important piece. It's called our thrust washer. The bolt fell to the ground. Our thrust washer is right there. Bring that off there. Let's see. Bring that out like that. And get the weights. There we go. Now we got to keep that together. We'll have to investigate that. I think we've got us a good governor, at least, for a 2010. Don't know that I need one yet, but that's where we're at. Well, good morning. It's the next day, Thanksgiving Day. I am out here. Our families are going to celebrate tomorrow, so I am out here, and I just decided I had nothing to lose because who knows what we're going to find inside. I took this over to the main shop and I steam cleaned it and degreased it. This whole side was covered in oil and dirt, and I don't think I had anything to lose, right or wrong. That's what I did. And as you can see, we've got a mess in there. This is going to be challenging. I think I'm going to have to clean these up and weld new nuts to them in the hopes that they break free. So I don't know what we're going to find there. It's going to be one of the last things we do. Well, we won't get to that today. The disassembly of the John Deere 165 combine engine. And a lot of people online are telling me on Facebook that this will bolt into a 2010. However, until I get to the inside of it, I think I'm dealing with about the same issues that I have with the 145 motor, original motor for the tractor. Put this cover back on so I could wash it, and so we're going to remove this cover, get rid of it, put it back off, and get this pulley off. I brought out the posi lock puller, and we're going to see how far we get for a couple hours today. I got totally lucky. This is what I set up, and it came before I had the camera ready to go. Got totally lucky. We got this off. This was the setup posi puller, and just the impact on the end, it pulled very easy. The impact didn't even hammer. So I think we did pretty good there. The pulley is now removed. We'll take this front cover off, and then we will probably work on the other side of the motor. I now got the fuel pump off. Won't be needing that. There'll be a plate go on there if we use this. We should be able to take the oil canister off, then the distributor, and then we might remove that. Then we'll have it stripped down. We'll have to raise it up off the pallet since we don't have our motor stand, and we will drain any remaining oil or sludge that's in it and drop the pan, and then we'll know kind of what we have. Make sure we're not missing anything. There we go. All right. Filter on a 165, a Wix oil filter is a 51243. Went ahead and removed the bolts from the distributor. Should be able to tap that up. Still had a lot of dirt behind it. The tang looks good, and that still spins good, so I think that's good. We're getting it tore down now. We're going to bag this with its bolts and hold downs. Got the left side clean now of the motor, and I'm going to go back here to the front seal and take this front plate off, and then there's nothing left to do but pick it up, drain what any residual oil is in it. Hopefully there's some. The dipstick says there is. And then drop the pan and see what we got. Okay, I got the bolts out now, and let's see what goodness we have in here. Got an alignment dowel down here in this corner. There we go. All right. Front cover is off. with the front seal. And we did get a little water in there, but looks pretty dang good. So we are getting closer. Maybe we'll be able to remove the cam here in a little bit. See how that goes. When we put up the tarps in here, it really took some of our lighting. Since they're black tarps, it absorbs our lighting. We're gonna have to put up a few more lights. What I find very interesting is how some parts will interchange with the unit, some won't. It says right here, use timing mark on 115 cube engines, all others use that. So they had a line for the 115 on here. If you had this in a 115 cubic inch engine, and use the dot if you have it in this engine, 165 or all others. I think that's pretty interesting. Well, we had a little bit of a disaster, if you will. I wasn't thinking, picked it up at an angle and all the oil came out there. So luckily we keep a bag of sawdust around from our wood shop. Out of all the oil, that's all I got in the bucket. And I got that drained out of here. I'm gonna drop the pan now, keep it over the mess here in case we have another disaster. Real life, my fault, I completely forgot about it. I knew I'd taken this front cover off. So we're gonna see what goodness we got in there and be moving right along. Okay, we got the pan off, and that's right down here. Got some good stuff in there. So this looks better than I thought it would. We will have to get this turned over. We'll drop the oil pump out and get that. Still has the screen on it and everything, so that's good. Trying to give you guys some light. It's a real pain when you don't have an engine stand. Got them all tied up. William has his one on his dozer and I got one on the other engine. We are going to have to figure this mess out. That's going to be the challenge for the afternoon. So we'll have to see how that comes along. Gonna go in and eat some lunch and then come out and drop the oil pump. So we'll bring you along, as William says. Okay, we should be able to remove these two bolts right there and drop the oil pump down and out of there, and we will be taking the dipstick out right out of there, and then we are going to have to tackle the flywheel if we're going to get anywhere today. Would like to get the crank out and see what kind of condition things are in. I don't know if you can see it right there. If I can get you focused in. These have retaining clips on them, so obviously after you get them together they don't vibrate out while you have the engine running. I'll try to do this one-handed here. We got the retaining fold over locking tabs, if you will, coming out. See if we can. Yep, I think we're gonna have to tap on it. I was hoping to film it for you, but precarious situation here. Gently tapped it down, and it should. Don't want to drop it. Keep coming. There we go. Almost dropped it. Teeth look good. And we got that out. Now we can set her down flat on another pallet. We now have the oil pan off, the oil pump removed. We are down to having to battle those 4 bolts right there that get rid of this flywheel. We won't be using this flywheel. It will be scrapped, and we will be taking this casting away because people are reporting in and they're saying that the 165 was in the 2010, so that will bolt right in. If that's the route I want to go, I have been thinking about another project that's in the back of my mind that I might keep this motor for. So that means we'll be tearing down another 145 to get to the crank. So we're going to check it out and see what we've got going on. What I did was I heated these up cherry red and let them cool off. And then I took a chisel and I cleaned all the edges of the bolts, all 6 edges. Then I still couldn't get my socket on there, so I tapped it on, and that made a pretty snug fit. And then that came right out. Right there is the results. 1 down, 3 to go. Now we have not had success anymore on the way we did it. They are just too rounded from all the rusting. But I do believe, if you can see back in there, is quite a space. I think if I take a cutting wheel and cut that off of the head off, that really we should be able to get the flywheel off and have enough stud on the crank to weld a nut to, or maybe even be able to just put a vice grips on them and turn them out, because they did come out. Threads are pretty good down there on the one I did get out. So I think I'm going to try that and see what happens. So I took a cutting wheel on a rigid battery grinder, took my time. I got into it a little bit, but it ain't going to matter. And then I took a flap disc and polished down. What we were dealing with was the remnants of the fold over locks and the heads. Everything just rusted, because with the pulley on there, I will show you, there was a wonderful place for rodents to pack that full and live in there and pee all over it, hence the corrosion factor. And that pulley was bolted here, here, and here, and that's pretty well what drove the combine. I am anticipating this being quite heavy. If we get it off at all. It's moving. There we go. And I think we can get those out. Got the rear plate off. There's just one screw down there. The rear main now is exposed. Remember when I was telling you about the engine? I think this is kind of interesting. Don't know yet what that's about. Got to figure that out. Maybe we'll remove the front cover. Or I guess we do have the front cover off. We will. There's nothing there. We'll see. Kind of interesting that it has that movement. I would not think it should have that movement, but we'll check it out. I don't see anything bad in here, other than it's a non-running engine that has some pistons stuck. But when I move it, all the connecting rods are still together. I don't see any excessive slop. I think it's just kind of right at that top dead center where it kind of just goes over. Let me see if I can do it for you. Let's see here. Just kind of moves that far. I think it's just that top dead center. So kind of excited about that. I think this is looking pretty good for what it is. I think we'll go ahead and remove the rear main seal. Just take these bolts out, or not that one, here, 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 here. Should be able to bring that right off of the crank. And I think after that, we look at the front, we should be able to pop those main caps and the rod bearings and lift that crank out of there. As I said, tap that back gently. Rear main seal off. We need to bag this now. Main bolts are all removed. I was amazed I didn't find fold-over locks or something like that, or wire ties, but maybe once you torque them, you're good. The caps coming off. Actually looking very good. Probably not in frame there, but that's looking good. That one's stiff. This one came loose immediately. Way out of here. It's slippery. And look, really good. Of course, we would have to have them checked. Get everything greasy here. Okay, got the rear main bearing out. Nice and smooth. I don't know what that would have been right there. I don't know if you can see it in the camera or not. Now we got to disconnect the rods. We'll be able to lift the crank right out. Do the top ones here that are down, and we will take those off. Okay. Bearing still there. Oh, that looks good. What it is. Let's see if they're standard or someone's been in here before. I think we're going to find everything standard. I don't think. Federal Mogul 1165. So I would say that no one has been in here since 65. Okay. And don't see where it's stamped standard, but I think these are original to it. Very interesting. They got a John Deere number on them. Try to get this one that's down in there. Oh, I'm gonna bring out the whole thing, the whole shooting match. Drop the bolts down in there. Sweet. Looks pretty good. Here, and there is that one, and it left the bearing down in there. We got that. Once again, let's check it, see what it says, but it should say 65 if we can read it. Yep, 11th month of 1965. This has been together a long time. I think this is original. I think that's pretty cool to be able to open something up. It's almost like a time capsule. Now it's time for me to see if we can lift that out of there. We did. One crankshaft removed. None of them are moving. So now we have to get the cam out and the pistons and rods. 2 pistons are moving, however you can't take them out the bottom due to the webbing in the block. Piston skirts will hit it. So I'm going to have to now clean the bores so that I can slide the 2 that are moving up and out of there. And so we've got a hone. We'll try to hone it just a little bit so we can get them to slide out, because there is some scale in there and I do not want to take away too much, because you don't get to bore these or anything like that because it's a deck plate engine. Well, I got one out. This one is shiny enough. It actually feels really good, honestly. That one there came out the top. This one is stuck. This one is moving, but there is quite a bit of scale right there. I'm going to take a wire wheel so we won't damage that in there, and not a hone. I was going to use a hone, but I forgot I've used a wire wheel in the past. Get that smooth enough to slide by. The pistons are standard, which makes sense because it's really hard to have these bored. We're going to try and experiment though, maybe. This piston appears to be stuck right at the top. This one is stuck. This one is moving. It went down, but I do not want to send it back up until I get that scale out of there. I'm going to conclude here for tonight. What I did now, I've cleaned this with a wire wheel inside there, because you can see the pitting here. And then what I did was I took a hone and ran it about 5 times around just to smooth what the brush didn't get. This piston actually moves, but you can't take it out from the bottom. So what we're going to do now is knock it out. I have the cap back on it, and we're going to bring it up. You can see how it hits the lip of the main bearing casting over there. So there's no way to bring these out. All 4 of them have to come out the top. So we got to clean the bores. Got my dead blow hammer. Put some PV in there. And then I'm going to go on the back side and tap it forward. Here it comes. Okay. Now I don't want the connecting rod to drag in there, although it really wouldn't hurt it because we're already pitted. All right, we got that seized piston out of there. So definitely gunky. This piston was actually stuck up right at top dead center. I got it to tap back a little bit. I'm going to tap it back a little bit more. I'm going to clean the cylinder and then bring that one out. This one here is majorly stuck. It was down and it had about 2 inches of water in there. I think we'll be able to get it, but we're going to do some major cleaning and see what we can do. Got my trusty piston remover. Right or wrong, this is what I'm doing. Well, I said it was moving. It's not moving now. All right, we got it to move back. We'll begin to clean it up. I don't feel like I'm costing myself anything doing it this way, because right now I don't have anything anyway. And we'll probably have to get a new deck plate. Okay, we will have to do some more soaking and cleaning. We don't want to pound on these and make them non-round. We don't want to lose the rod. So what we're going to have to probably do, see if we can make something go across here, push. That one was moving. I probably should not have drove it back, so that could be my own fault. This one, of course, is down at the bottom of the stroke, so we got a long way to go to get out the top of him. We'll clean that bore up, and we'll also remove the crank, or I'm sorry, not the crank, the camshaft. Correction, the camshaft. We got to take those two bolts out, and then that should slide right out of there. So we'll do that now, and then we will clean up the shop, organize the parts we do have off, and we will begin to do the long soak. Some of these I have soaked up to a year. I don't think this one will take that long. We'll just have to get creative on what we're going to do with him. And the main thing is to try to not destroy anything. This is where I don't want to just beat them out of there, because then what would be the point of everything we've done? I did beat it back with a piece of wood, and that was probably my mistake. I should have just tried to go right out the top, even if it would have broke a ring or something, because we'd obviously get new rings. Taking those two bolts out, should, and we want to be very careful. I think we've got us a good cam. And then we will also have lifters below this to remove. There we go. Cam is out. Now we can get the lifters. Now the lifters are right down in there. Should be able to bring those right out. I don't know if you can see that or not. Okay. Them over here. The lifter bores all coming out. And the last one's a little stiff. It's not going to pull that out. There it goes. All right. Covered in oil. So we have all 8 of those out. We'll wipe those off and we'll bag them. Well, I'm back at it today and doing a little unconventional out of the box thinking, and I took this here and put indirect heat up under these 2 pistons. They've got PB Blaster on top of them. It's evaporating it off, drying it out. But I was just thinking that it wouldn't hurt anything. And so that's what I did. And we about got it as hot as we can get it, I think. And just kind of letting that heat try to permeate some of that down in there. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. I don't know. Getting a little water boiling out of there. I don't know if you can see that or not, but we got boiling oil or bubbling oil. Maybe it's just air coming through between the piston and the wall there. So it'll be interesting to see if that starts to move eventually today. Okay, we broke the stuck piston free with the shop press. It really didn't take that much after heating. And the oil is just boiling down the sides now. Pretty fun to see. And so we got it free. Back from lunch, the block is still pretty hot. You don't really want to put your hand on it too much. So that's good. Retain the heat. A lot of that oil now has disappeared. Went down the sides of the cylinder wall. Pretty excited about that. We're going to work on getting that out of there. We've got to clean that ridge of rust now. Get that all cleaned off and then see if we can start sending that right back up at us here. We'll have to put the block in, turn it over in the press, and then see if we can press it right out the top. Okay, we're moving back up. This is the only way I could figure out how to press on that. I couldn't get the connecting rod out of there. So I don't want to damage the connecting rod, but it might just be the only thing I can do. It's moving. This was the worst one. I think we're definitely past where it was stuck. Now I am going to come down into the main. I'm going to have to reposition my wood, because I'm going to come back down into the main journal, or the mounting area of the main bearing. Hang on. I'm going to spray it down again. PB blaster in there. Okay. It's moving quite well. Oh wow. Even our block came out very easily, so we might be able to get the dead blow hammer now and tap it. Okay, I can put the rod cap back on because I can just gently tap, moving ever so gently. Got wood down below to catch it. Coming. Oh, yep, we're at top dead center. Here it goes. We have it. Landed on wood. That was the toughest one to do right there. Look at that. All that nice gunk there. Wow. We'll have to all the rings are filled with rust. So, I don't think we hurt the connecting rod. We'll have to have those checked to make sure they're still concentric. We didn't pound on them. Push down here, the wood conformed to the roundness of the rod when we pushed. So, one to go. Just when you think you got things figured out, I do not anticipate this one pushing hard because I was able to drive it back with a hammer and a block of wood, as you've seen in the previous few minutes. But with it being out on the end of the engine, I couldn't reach this main support, so I had to use these. You got to make sure that they're not going to interfere with the piston coming down. Plus you got this water connection spout right there you don't want to damage. Luckily I have a forklift to hold this end up while I'm doing this. So now we're going to get set up and try to push that one down with the press right there. Okay, we're going down, hopefully. Oh, we're going sideways. It's really precarious having to push on that. I hope I don't make it non-round, but I don't have much of a choice. Can't get the connecting rod off, so it's just the chance I'm gonna have to take. We can probably find connecting rods. Well, like things that you think will be fast take time. The worst piston to get out was this one. Took a lot of pressing, and I will have to have the connecting rod checked and make sure this is still circular. I don't know. Had to do a lot of pressing on it. There was no other option. This is as far as I'm going to take the block down. You can take and knock the deck plate off underneath. It talks about in the book using like a piece of 4x4, tapping on each one of the sleeves that protrude up. I'm going to let the machine shop do that. If I take this to the machine shop, I don't know yet what I'm going to do with it. I did have, well, it would still go to the machine shop even if I deal with this option. Had a gentleman contact me, and he has one that his dad bought, a deck plate that his father bought in 1968, and they've had it all these years. So I don't know where I'm going to be. Number 2 here was the worst. I don't know if you can see. Let me see if I can put a light down. I think I did crack it. There was just, I don't feel any other way unless I would have drilled out the piston. I don't know if you can see it or not. Right down there. I think I cracked that all the way right there. This was the roughest bore. It has the pitting, and I didn't see if you can get in there. There's that crack. See if I can focus you on it. That was the roughest one. If this piston had not been that way, I think a machine shop could have cleaned these and used them. 3 and 4, they're all nice and smooth. It's just one bad apple. But we're going to see what they say. Look at the crud that was on those pistons. Look at that. That was the toughest one. That was number 1. Number 2 actually came out easier than number 1. Number 1 was at top dead center. This concludes it. I hope you enjoyed it. It's going to be a long video. I hope you watch it all through to the end. Dismantling of a John Deere 165 combine engine. Has HA ahead of 165. I was told online that was Harvest Works. I believe it's a 1965 engine because the bearings said 11 of 65 on the Federal Mogul bearings. Granted, you know, they could have had them on the shelf a while, so I would say between 65 and 70 probably. I don't know when they quit making these. Enough of me rambling on. I hope you enjoyed it. I kind of enjoyed opening the time capsule, seeing what happened. Obviously it just set and seized up. It's a shame, but that's what you get. So like, share, and subscribe. Come back for more. And down the road, we're not going to make this a series. Down the road, we might enlighten you on what we ended up doing. I honestly have 2 more 2010s I could tear down. The one under the blue tarp is a propane unit. I got it out of Kansas. The other one I got out of Minnesota out of a salvage yard. It's a gas unit. Still might tear it down for the crank. I am still down a 145 crank. Got a bad crank on the one we were working on. Thank you, and like I already said, like, share, and subscribe.